All over the world, from the deserts of Saudi Arabia to the forests of Malaysia, these massive new cities are popping up. We're talking $100 billion cities of the future, but they all share one huge glaring problem.
And this quote, man, it just nails the paradox at the heart of it all. See, the promise is this amazing high-tech utopia, right? But the reality? It's more like a real estate hallucination. You've got these incredibly advanced, super expensive cities that are just empty.
So it really makes you wonder, how does a dream that costs $100 billion go so spectacularly wrong? That's what we're going to do here. We're going to dig into the evidence bit by bit and figure out exactly where these projects just completely fall apart.
All right, let's start with Exhibit A, the tech. This is supposed to be the bedrock of these smart cities, right? The whole sales pitch is this seamless AI integration. But in reality, this is where you start to see the first major cracks in the whole foundation.
You know, the vision they sell is so seductive. It's this idea of a perfectly efficient city, all managed by AI, where everything just works. It's this perfect, vibe-coded future that they pitch to investors and, well, all of us, promising this amazing, seamless life.
But then you get hit with the reality check, and it is jarring. Get this. Recent studies show that generalized AI, the very engine that's supposed to run these cities, actually fails at professional tasks 96% of the time. The tech just isn't there yet. It's not ready.
And this analogy just perfectly sums it up. I mean, think about it. You're handing over the keys to an entire city, all its complex, critical systems, to an AI that's fundamentally unreliable. That is a massive, incredibly risky bet. It's literally a powerful machine with nobody qualified behind the wheel.
And look, the financial data totally backs this up. There was a PwC report that found that a whopping 95% of integrated AI pilot programs failed to produce any measurable profit. So that $100 billion investment, it doesn't just fail to make money, it becomes what our source calls a financial black hole.
Okay, so for Exhibit B, let's do what they always say. Follow the money. If the tech is basically a black hole, then where in the world is all this cash coming from? And maybe more importantly, where's it actually going?
Well, a lot of the funding comes from these massive things called sovereign wealth funds, and it's so important to understand what these are. This is government money that was originally meant for, building a nation. We're talking real schools, real hospitals, things for everyday people.
But instead of building stuff we actually need, we see these huge scandals, like the 1MDB case. I mean, in that one, billions of dollars just vanished. Poof. Funneled into luxury lifestyles instead of public projects. And that really shines a light on a huge systemic risk in how these massive projects are even managed.
So what you end up with is this situation where the shiny promise of high-tech and AI is just a cover. It becomes, as the source calls it, a facade of ingenuity. It's all designed to lure in that big global investment, while the project itself is basically an empty high-tech shell that's going nowhere.
And that brings us to Exhibit C, which might just be the most critical piece of the puzzle, the human element. Because here's the thing, even if the tech worked perfectly and all the money was legit, these cities are still failing, and it's because of a fundamental user experience problem.
This comparison really shows a pattern we've seen before. Just think about the metaverse, right? Meta poured over $70 billion into building a digital world that nobody wanted to be in. Well, these smart cities are pretty much the physical version of that. $100 billion worlds that nobody wants to live in.
And if you want to understand just how big this user problem is, just look at the numbers from Meta's big virtual world, Horizon Worlds. At one point, it had only about 900 daily users. 900. That just goes to show you can build the biggest, most expensive world imaginable, but you can't force people to actually show up.
This all comes down to a really important idea called network effects. Think about it. A city, just like your favorite social media app, is only valuable because other people are there. So if nobody's there when it launches, why would anyone else want to join? It creates this negative feedback loop that is incredibly hard to break.
And it's not just about being empty. There's also this deep, built-in friction. Imagine living in a city where every single move you make is tracked by sensors. Our source calls this a retail panopticon. In a place like that, privacy isn't a right anymore. It's a permission that you have to lease from whoever runs the city. And for most people, that's just not a great way to live.
Okay, so we've looked at the tech, we've followed the money, and we've talked about the people problem. So what's the final verdict here? What's the one fundamental flaw that ties all of these failures together?
Well, when you boil it all down, the answer is a classic mistake. It's putting the cart before the horse. Time and time again, these projects put the shiny tech solution, that's the cart, way ahead of understanding the actual human problem they're trying to solve, the horse.
So let's break that down a little. First, they're using tech that has a known hallucination problem, and it's just not ready to scale. Second, they try to create this so-called intelligence out of that flawed technology. And third, and this is the big one, just like AI language models don't really have a true model of the world, these city projects don't have a true model of what actually makes a human community work and thrive.
And all of this leaves us with one last big question. Is all this failure just a painful but maybe necessary step on the road to progress? Or are these so-called smart cities nothing more than some of the most expensive hallucinations in modern history, all funded by ego and a whole lot of debt? It's a really crucial question we have to ask ourselves as we think about how to build the real cities of the future.